Hi, thanks for coming into our meeting where we're going to talk about the evaluation process. So I have a chart here to help us look at it. It's kind of overwhelming at first, so I'm just going to cover some of it up. So before we even start thinking about an evaluation, we have some steps in place as a district to make sure we support the children in the general education classroom first. So let's look at our first thing. So pre-referral, before we even refer to get evaluated. As a district, we have Child Find, which is a process for us to identify and evaluate children who may need special ed services. So all students are given a fall, winter, and spring academic test where they could be identified at risk for academics. Another way is teachers can talk to a child study team about any behaviors or academic difficulties that they are seeing in the classroom. Or parents can ask to meet with a child study team if they have any concerns. And so I have this in a little extra box because there's two ways to get an initial referral. So it can go through the process of the child study team at the school, or parents and guardians, you guys have the right to initiate a referral right away. So what we do as a school is when we see that there is a child who may need special education services, we get together as a child study team, which includes the principal, a psychologist, classroom teacher, maybe a nurse, the special education teacher, guidance counselor, reading teacher, speech language pathologist. All of those people, we get together to discuss and look at student data and talk about the student and see what kind of things are happening. As the child study team moves on, they may offer different things before we even jump into moving for a referral for special education. Some of the things we could do is ask if there's any short, brief tests to maybe help us tweak our ideas or make decisions on how to support the student. Maybe we'll suggest classroom management strategies to the teacher. We could ask the nurse to conduct some visual and hearing screenings. And then we also offer possible interventions to the teacher. So if we're looking down the road for a special education evaluation for a specific learning disability, we need 2 6 to 8 week interventions before we refer, because we just really want to make sure if we can support the student and give them interventions to catch them up in the general ed classroom, we want to do that before we just jump right into special education. If these interventions are not working and are not successful, we're going to meet with you, the parent and guardian. We will meet to go over reasons for why we're recommending to evaluate for a disability. We will show you data and scores and grades and just talk about the observations we see. So that will go in, that process brings us to our initial referral, which starts our referral process for special education. So the initial referral does not mean your student automatically qualifies for special education. There's still a process. The initial referral is just started by either the child study team, classroom teacher, or you as a parent and guardian. It needs to be written so we have a start date because there's timelines to follow and for you to know when the process starts. So when we get the initial referral, we have 15 days to send parental consent for if we need any additional assessments. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. If this referral is coming from the school, we need to document what interventions have been done already and what we did to support the student as they were in general education, their regular ed classroom. So from the initial referral, we go into a meeting where we look at the students' existing data throughout their years. So we would give you a call and we would ask if you would like to be a part of the team to get together and look at all the data to determine if we need any additional assessments to help figure out who this student is, what type of learner they are, just so we can better help them down the road. So some parents don't come to this, but we always offer you to come in and help us review files and look at their existing data. This is where the IEP team starts. So the IEP team members include you, the parent or guardian, a general education teacher, the special education teacher, psychologist, and then also can include speech and language pathologist, physical therapist, occupational therapist, or principal. If from here, when we review the existing data, we determine, do we need additional assessments or do we not need additional assessments? If we don't need additional assessments, we send a consent saying that none are needed, and we have 60 days to get together as a team to determine if the student has a disability or not and has a need for special education. Most initial evaluations I've been a part of, all of them so far, we've always found a need for additional assessments because we really want to get to know how the student learns, what they know, what they don't know, and what they need help with. So, if additional assessments are needed, we send a request for parental consent. So this is a paper that lets you know all the assessments that we want to assess your student on and evaluate your student on. You are able to say, yes, you can do this, and then it would be sent to us, or you can say, no, we can't test unless we get you to sign your parental consent saying it is okay to test. If you sign that it's okay to test, right when we get the parental consent back, that gives us 60 days to do all of our testing and then meet as an IEP team to talk about eligibility and if the student qualified under certain criteria with a disability and has a need for specialized education. So, both of these steps start our 60 days. During these 60 days is where we start evaluating the student. So this is where we start giving the formal assessments, having observations, calling you in as parents or guardians to interview you, looking at the history of the student, and then any other tests that were written on this parental consent request form. This is where the team has those 60 days to assess the student and then have written reports. And then after we do that, before the 60 days is up, we get together as the IEP team to discuss evaluations to determine eligibility for special education. As a team, we look at the different criteria for the disabilities and discuss the evaluation reports and figure out, does the student meet eligibility to have a disability? So we would agree or disagree. If we disagree, it moves here, and if we agree, it moves here. So if we say the student did not meet eligibility criteria, then the team will give recommendations of how to support the student in general education classroom. So this could be like a 504 where we give accommodations like preferential seating and other things just to support the student in the classroom. If we determine that the student is eligible for specialized education, we have 30 days to meet again and create an IEP or an individualized education program to help support the student, which is another meeting. Sometimes they have it in the same meeting. It kind of just depends. But over this whole process, it is your right to call a meeting whenever you need, informal conference. That is your right, and I want to make sure that you feel comfortable asking questions, saying concerns throughout the whole process. All right, if you have any questions, let us know. It's kind of a lot, so if you want to take this home with you and you can look at it closer, call us with any questions. The email and phone number are on the back of this. Thank you very much.